What's going on, Internet? Iron Jordan here. Today, we have some bittersweet reveals from DraftBot 6, which will be coming out later. I think it's actually in November that it comes out. And Bandai decided that they were going to reveal a bunch of cards today, so we'll end up getting probably daily or weekly reviews for the next couple weeks, and we'll start doing videos on those, and we'll talk about the cards, see how good they're going to be. I urge you guys, please, whatever you can, just let Bandai know that we don't like draft boxes. They poison the secondary market. They make it really hard for players to play the game effectively and cheaply, and that's a big issue, especially when you start to see some of these draft box SR shoot up in price, as some of these probably will, that we're going to talk about today. The first one we're going to talk about is King Piccolo, the new ruler. It's a 3-drop double strike 15k permanent. If your leader card is red, this card gets plus 5,000 power, and your opponent can't activate blocker skills in response to this card's attack. Activate main. If you have a red unison card in play with 3 or more markers on it, play this card from your hand, and you can't play copies of this card for the turn. Auto, at the end of your turn, send this card to its owner's warp. This card is really good. I think this is actually the best card that they revealed today. It's a free 15k double striker. If you have a red leader, it's a free 20k double striker that can't be blocked, which is really, really solid. It does send itself to the warp at the end of the turn, but if you're playing Pilaf, you can just sack it to give your unison triple attack. I think this card is going to be a staple for red going forward, especially if unison stay in the meta, which I'm pretty sure they're not going anywhere. Imagine if we get a red unison like Dimidra anytime soon. If we get even a solid 1-drop red unison, and you just drop this guy on turn 1 or 2 or whatever, and just have at it. This card seems very, very good. So I fear that this will become a staple almost on a boonies level. So next we have Corrin Tower Secret Medicine. Activate battle. If your leader card is red, choose one of your cards and it gets plus 5,000 power for the turn. If it's your opponent's turn, choose up to one of your opponent's cards ignoring barrier and it gets neg 5k power for the turn. I'm sorry, for the battle on the second part. So if it's on your opponent's turn, their card gets neg 5k for the battle. If it's your turn, one of your cards gets plus 5k for the turn. So some people are saying that this is Red Bean. It's not quite Red Bean, not quite as powerful. I don't think that this will be a main deck card at all. Maybe if you're playing Cooler, who knows? Maybe Cooler will like to play this card, but I don't foresee that happening. I think that this is more of a sideboard tech. It's very good against 1-drop 5Ks that have barrier. So if you're playing against AOD, if you're playing against, I don't know, Slug or whatever, and they have a 1-drop that has barrier, this gets rid of that on their turn, which is really, really nice. The next card we're going to talk about is Bardock Great Ape Assault. It is a 5-drop 20k double strike blocker. It EX evolves for 2 blue on top of a blue Bardock when the energy costs are 2 or more. So this thing can actually evolve on top of itself. Permanent. When using this card's evolve skill from your hand, you can choose battle cards from your energy and play this card in active mode. So if you have just 4 copies of this card in your deck, you can charge them. They're not going to take up your 0 plus 5k spots. They're not 1 plus 10ks, so they're not dead cards in your hand when you're comboing and you're tapped out. That's really nice. You can just play it from your, you can evolve it onto your energy. When you play it, if your leader card is a blue Saiyan card, when a card in your energy is evolved into this card, draw 1 card, then at the end of the turn, switch this card to active mode and place the top card of your deck in your energy in rest mode. So, already this is a 2-drop 20k double striker that draws you a card and at the end of the turn has blocker, because it's going to restand itself. That's super good. As long as this thing doesn't get counterplayed, it is extremely good value for blue. It is comparable. I don't think it's maybe quite as good as the yellow Bardock Ape, but it is comparable to the yellow Bardock Ape in a lot of different ways. I think this card's really good. Definitely potential staple here. Intersecting Fates. This is a 1-drop extra card. Activate main. If your leader card is blue, look at up to the top 2 cards of your deck and add 1 card among them to your hand. Then place the remaining cards at the bottom of your deck in any order. At the end of the turn, switch up to one of your mono blue energy to active mode. This is just like a Preordain or a Ponder or an Opt or whatever from Magic that we get now in DBS, except it untaps its own energy, which is really nice. Card selection is always really good. If you need to have a bunch of extra cards in your drop area, or if you want to have a bunch of 1-drops in your drop area for the Shenron secret rare, then this card is going to be excellent for you. This card seems pretty good. I don't think that this card is like the most broken card ever, but it's definitely good. It's definitely a good card. Next, we have SS3 Son Goku, Fist of Fortitude, 5-drop, 30k, triple strike barrier. Activate main. If your leader card is green and you choose 1 card in your hand and discard it, choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards, ignoring barrier, and KO it. Then choose one of your opponent's unison cards and remove 2 markers from it. Activate main, pay a green. If your leader card is green and you discard this card from your hand, choose up to one of your opponent's unison cards and remove a marker from it. So this card seems good if you can get it out. The problem is it's a 5 drop for 30k. At 5 drop, you're trying to win the game probably at 5 energy. And so just dropping something that KOs something is really nice, but unless we have something that cheats this out, I don't really foresee this card doing very much. I think it's very good in the limited format for the draft format that they want us to play in, but for the most part, I don't foresee this card doing anything crazy in the meta unless we can just get it out better. I think it's a good card. Just you need to be able to play it for cheaper, which is no way to do it on the actual card itself. So, Hirudegarn, Phantasmic Evolution. 6 drop, 25k critical. EX evolve on top of a Hirudegarn with an energy cost of 4. Auto, when this card is removed from your battle area by an opponent's skill or KO'd, play one Hirudegarn card with an energy cost of 4 or 9 from your deck or hand. Shuffle your deck if you look through it, and you can't play copies of this card for the turn. If you didn't play a battle card, choose 2 of your opponent's cards in their hand and discard them. Activate battle, KO this card, choose up to 2 of your opponent's battle cards and KO them. That's a mouthful, but essentially this thing can be played in the blue Hirudegarn deck and you can evolve on top of any of the targets on there. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be a certain color Hirudegarn, which is really nice. It can trigger its own auto, which is super dope, and it can get you out your 9-drop Hirudegarn basically for free. If you're playing the 4-drop Hirudegarn promo, I believe he's a 4-drop. Maybe he's a 4-drop. I don't know. Actually, he's not a 4-drop. I take that back. He's a 7-drop, I think. Anyway, you can evolve this on top of Hirudegarns, and hopefully we see some more Hirudegarns shown in the set itself. This is the only one that was revealed today, but I think this card is really good. It lets you cheat out the 9-drop, which is really, really solid. That, like, the 9-drop is insane. The 9-drop has barrier. When it comes into play, it warps a card from your opponent's hand, and it can negate an attack every single turn. It's a 30k attacker by itself, so anything that lets us cheat out the 9-drop, I think this is really good. So I think this card's great. I'll be looking for a playset of this for sure. Next, we have Hydra Dragon, a kind friend. 3-drop, 10k yellow auto. Pay a yellow if you have 2 or more energy and it's your opponent's turn. At the end of the battle, when this card is used in a combo from your hand, play up to 2 skillless battle cards with energy cost of 1 from your deck or drop area. Then shuffle your deck if you looked through it and you can't activate the auto skill and copies of this card for the turn. So this card is incredibly good. Obviously, it's pointing out the obvious that if you're playing Gohan, this is essentially a pseudo combo that gets you out 2 vanillas, which is really, really nice. However, it's not leader locked and it's not color locked other than having to pay a yellow. So you can play this in vanilla too if you want. And if you're playing a yellow shell and you have a yellow energy up, you can go get red 1-drops vanillas because it doesn't limit you on the vanilla color. So I think this card is very good, not only just for Gohan, obviously it's great for Gohan, but I think it's great for also just generic vanilla support. So, hey, seems really good. Lord Sloan, Super Namekian, 3-drop, 20k, unique barrier, permanent bond 2. When this card is in rest mode, your opponent can add cards from their deck to their hand using non-leader skills. Activate main, pay a yellow. If your leader card is yellow or a Slud's Army card and you discard this card from your hand, play up to 1 Slud's Army card with an energy cost of 1 from your deck and shuffle your deck. So, obviously, this means that Lord Slug is going to be able to splash yellow and go get their wings on turn 1 every single time. This is also going to be an issue if this guy's in the drop area when your opponent plays the rare Lord Slug that gets guys back from the drop area. So now you're not adding cards from your deck to your hand off of non-leader skills, which is kind of insane. And yeah, I see this card being pretty good for the Lord Slug deck. I think Lord Slug players will welcome this with open arms. I don't think that they are super happy about having to play yellow now, but they will adapt to it. The deck is better with yellow potentially, so this card is insane. It's your 8 copies of wings now. And yeah, that's kind of what Slug needed. I mean, he's already pretty good. He just top 4'd some online tournament, so hey, he gets more support here. Sounds good. Toa, Dark Demon Realm Scientist. It's a black unison, meaning it has no specified cost. It's a 20k permanent. This card can sack if it has 2 or fewer markers on it. Auto once per turn. When one of your opponent's battle cards is removed by a battle area by a skill or KO'd, it add a marker to this card. So that also includes your opponent's skill. So if they use a skill to sack their own guys or send their own guys to the drop area or whatever, then you get a marker on this card on their turn as well. Activate main, choose up to 1 card in your hand and discard it. Choose up to 1 of your opponent's battle cards with energy costs 3 or less and send it to its own form. Also, the first part is not a choose up to, it's choose 1. I misread that. That's on me. So this card doesn't plus by itself unless it's removing something. You have to neg cards to do it. This card could be okay. The neg 4, activate main, choose up to 1 of your opponent's battle cards and gain control of it. It seems alright. I think that this card could do some stuff, but we'll see. I don't think this card is amazing right off the start, but it could be good. It could be good. We'll see. Next, we've got Demon God Demigod, True Power Unleashed. 5 drop 30k. Overwhelm for 5 and 2 energy. Dark Overwhelm for 5 and 2 energy. Auto, when this card is played using Overwhelm or Dark Overwhelm, draw one card, then choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards and send it to its owner's warp. Auto, when this card attached, your opponent chooses one card in their hand and sends it to the warp. Obviously, this card is meant for mono black, I think, because you want to use the Dark Overwhelm more than you want to use the Overwhelm. That way he sticks around because Dark Overwhelm does not leave at the end of the turn, whereas Overwhelm does. I think that if you can get this card to stick, and if you keep this card on the board for 2 or 3 turns, that you are definitely winning this game. This card just seems really, really good. I don't think it's the most broken Overwhelm card that we've ever gotten, but it's certainly incredibly powerful. Next, Son Goku Unwavering Conviction. It's a 4-drop, red-green, 1 plus 10k, combo power, 20k power, energy exhaust, double strike, arrival, red-green for a green energy. Activate battle once per turn. Place up to 1 card from your opponent's combo area in its owner's drop area. Then choose up to one of your unison cards or battle cards other than this card and get its plus 5k power for the turn. I think this card is just pretty good for red-green. I think this card is insanely good in Pan, and I can't wait to get my hands on a playset of this to play in Pan. And this card just seems really good. Moving on. We have Explosion Demon Wave. Explosive Demon Wave. 3-drop, red, blue, energy exhaust, counter, counter. If your leader card is red, and you choose one card from your hand and discard it, negate the battle card's counter, counter skill, then switch up to one of your blue energy to active mode and at the end of the turn. Sorry. Having an issue there. Activate main, send this card from your drop area to your warp. Look at the top card of your deck. If it's a multicolor extra card, you may add it to your hand. Otherwise, place it on top of your deck. So yeah, like pretty solid, maybe 2 of for Invoker. I think that this card is very niche though because it only counters the counter of a battle card counter. So yeah, and on top of that, it only hits counter attack, so it doesn't hit counter plays. It only hits battle card counters, and it only hits battle card counters that counter attack. So it hits topo and stuff like that. So I mean, like it has a spot for sure, but I think this is definitely more of a sideboard card than a main board card. I just think it's a little narrow on the counter, and you still have to pay 3 energy to do it. So interesting, very interesting. I mean, obviously, Invoker doesn't have to pay 3 energy for it because they just invoke it, but still, it's an interesting card. Next, we have Lord Slug Giant Force. This is our first GFR, which I believe is a Giant Force rare. It is 2 specified, critical, 15k, activate main, +1. You may choose 1 card in your hand and discard it. If you do, choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards, ignoring barrier, and it gets neg 10k power for the turn. Auto, if your leader card is red, when your opponent activates a counter skill, deal 1 damage to them, and that's the neg 4. So there's some issue with the ruling on this, or people are asking questions about the ruling on this. I think it's pretty simple. If you have not activated a loyalty ability, if you have not ticked up this card, on the turn that the auto is triggered, when the counter skill happens, then you can neg 4 this and activate the deal 1 damage. So obviously we know you can't activate skills multiple times per turn on unisons. I think that this will follow the same rule. If you've already ticked it up, your opponent can counter freely. If you haven't ticked it up, then your opponent can get neg forward and can burn for a damage. So I think that's the way that this will be ruled, and I think that we'll get that pretty soon. The final card we have today is also my favorite card. It's Bergamo Giant Force. He is a 1 specified yellow unison, 5k, permanent. This card gets plus 3k power for each marker on it. Auto once per turn. When your opponent attaches this card, add a marker to this card. +0, activate main, add a marker to this card. Neg 2, activate main, play up to 1 skillless battle card or a Universe 9 card with an energy cost of 2 or less from your deck in rest mode, then shuffle your deck. So this is what I think yellow needed. This card feels very yellow. It is a solid 1-drop unison. I think this is probably the second best yellow unison behind Mechikabura, but it comes out way earlier. This card gets big, so do the math on it. It's a 5k base. You pay 1 to play it. It comes in with one marker on it. That's 8k already. You tick it up, it's 11k. Now your opponent's leader is going to have a harder time to swing into it because they have to combo to swing over it. So if you play this on turn 1 and your opponent wanted to swing into it, they have to combo a card from their hands, and when they do, they're just adding a marker to it to take the marker away. This thing's going to sit out on the board. It's going to accumulate counters for all your counterplay stuff and all your counter attack stuff and all that other things that need to have markers and stuff. It's going to sit on the board. It's going to accumulate counters. It'll get bigger if your opponent leaves it alone. You're talking about on turn 3, this thing could end up being, I don't know, if they, let's say, for example, they leave it alone, and on turn 3, you've ticked it up 3 times. You're adding 11k power to it. It's a 16k power. It's already swinging over your opponent's leader on their bat side. So that seems pretty good. Actually, I think I did that math wrong. I think I did that math all the way wrong. With 4 counters on it, it would have 12k power, so it'd be a 17k power. Okay, cool. This thing could get, with 5 markers on it, this thing becomes a 20k power card. So you just sitting on that every turn, which is really really nice. And if they swing into it, they have to just keep applying more. Oh, this card is great. I love this card so much. I can go fetch skillless cards. I can go fetch Universe 9 cards. So if we get good Universe 9 cards, that'll be solid. I love this card so much. This actually does have me a little more hyped for the draft box because I like this card a lot and I want to get 4 copies of it. But yeah, that's all the reveals for today. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, like, subscribe, leave a comment if you want. We'll talk about this stuff in the comment section. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoy it, and I'll see you in the next one.